All right, let's get started. To save time, I've gone ahead and recycled our environment from the last one, so I basically just deleted everything. But I'm not going to make you watch me set up programs over and over again because I think by now you've probably got that part figured out. So over here in structured text, the only thing I have happening is a call to our function block diagram. And from there, I'm going to try to set this whole thing up in here. So the first thing we need to do, we need to know when our system is running. And I'm going to create a block here that says sys_run, and that's actually not going to be a block, that's going to be a bool. So we've got that, and after that I need to figure out a way to start capturing time, and I'm going to do that with a timer. So let's go ahead and put a block here. So let's go ahead and function F2 or F2 on your system, and let's get into our standard function blocks. And let's see what kind of timers we've got in here. So if I come down here, I've got our TON, and that should be perfect. So I'll go ahead and take that. So now I need to set this up somehow that it's going to be capturing all of my time. So I'm going to first give this thing a name, and that'll be sec timer 1. Got it? Got it. Okay. And my time on this, I'm going to count seconds. So T_1s, or I could go ahead and put 1000 ms. Even better. So if we've got 1000 milliseconds, not that it's any different, but just flexing my ability to use a different unit. So now, what do I want to happen every time this timer expires? Well, every time I hit Q on that, I want this timer to accumulate a second somewhere, and then I also want to reset my timer. So that being said, I can't associate system run immediately with this timer. So I need to put something in between there. And let's go ahead and click right there and select another block. And this is going to be a rising trigger. So _T control space, rising trigger, enter again. And I'll just go ahead and call that something simple like ONS1 because I'm only going to use that here, I believe. And from there, I need one more block. So let's come up here and take that, and I'll type in not because I'm sure there has to be a not block, and perfect. So what do I not want to be true? I don't want my timer to be expired. So I can type sec, control enter, sec timer 1 dot, and then I will look at the Q. So if I'm not mistaken, this logic should cause the timer to run and reset itself automatically every time. And then once this timer expires, what I want to do is go ahead and accumulate my seconds. So let's come over here and create some kind of accumulator, and I think I'll use an add block for that. So let's type add, and it doesn't look like what I actually want. So let's try function F2, and let's see what we've got under standard function blocks. I'm going to go up here, and sure enough, we don't have an add, but I do have a count up, and I know that'll work just fine. So let's take a count up, and I'm going to be counting up to 60. So let's type in 60 for the PV, hit enter, and then I need a reset here. So I'll have to create another line on my function block to reset that. So while I'm at it, let's just come over here and insert another network after. And I might as well, while I'm over here, just create a few more networks because I'm pretty sure I'm going to need several. There we go, got a few. So on this line, let's go ahead and first set up our counter. So this is going to be SEC COUNT1 because that's going to be a second count. And I'll leave that just the way it is. That looks great. And then I will look down here, and this is going to look at my second counter. So I'll pull up sec count 1 dot, and I'm really looking at Q. There we go. And what do I want to do anytime that happens? Well, if that happens, I want to reset my counter, but I also want to do some other accumulation. I want to start accumulating minutes. So let's go ahead and create another block right after that. And that's going to be another CTU. And my PV on that is also going to be 60. And let's go ahead and give this a name. And that's going to be MINCOUNT1. Perfect. That's going to be my minutes counter. And then let's come down here, and this is going to be MINCOUNT1 dot, and I want to look at the Q for this. Hit enter a couple of times. Let's add another block, just like that, and we're going to make one more CTU. This one's going to be HRCOUNT1, because this one's going to start counting hours. And for this, every time we get a minute, we're going to count up to 60. And there we go. Now we've got everything we need to count the hours. We just need to actually create a reset. So we're going to look for an hour meter underscore reset. And that will be a bool, so I'll hit OK. And what do we want to do if somebody hits that? Well, then we're going to one-shot, and we need to reset everything. So let's go ahead and click on block, and that's going to be R underscore. Hit enter on that. And now we've got something that we can use as a reset on some of these things. But we also need individual resets for each one of those. So let's go ahead and figure out how we're going to reset each and every one of those different pieces. So let's create another network after, and it looks like we're going to need even more of these guys. There we go. And right here, let's click on this box over here to the right, and let's go ahead and try to create a box, and let's see if there is an XOR. So let's go ahead and see what these two conditions are that we want. Well, this is going to be used to reset my accumulator. So if I scroll up here, I've got my sec count 1, and I want something that's going to reset that. So let me just copy that name, and I'm looking for one of two conditions to reset that. Sec count 1.q, because when that counts 60, I want to go ahead and reset it. And then I also want my hour meter reset to be able to reset that as well. So have that, good. Now we've got two different things coming into this XOR. So if either one of those happens, then we're going to need another block because we want to one-shot something. And what we're going to call this, we'll just call this ONS1. That's just a good generic name because we're not really using this for anything else. And what we'll do with that is we'll assign a tag to it, and that's going to be SECCT underscore RESET. So second counter reset, that'll be a bool, and then let's copy that and bring that up here, and we're going to plug that in for the reset. So now we have two different ways to reset that counter, but if that expires before we start resetting things, we also want to make sure that we're looking at the accumulations. So sure enough, we're going to catch it right up here on rung 2, and then before it happens another scan, we're going to come down here and reset that. So now we've actually got one reset for one of those things. We need to create the same kind of reset for all of our other counters. So I'm going to go ahead and break right here so this lecture doesn't get too long. And when we come back, we'll go ahead and create some more of those resets. So let's break here, and I'll see you when we'll pick back up right where we left off in the next.